The footing has been completed and we're ready to continue with the construction of the abutment walls. The formwork will be a two-face form. That is to say, you have access to both sides of the wall. You erect formwork on both sides of the wall, and you join the forms together with a series of tie rods. The tie rods carry the hydrostatic head of the concrete, which is considerable. Here are the form panels that will be used to form the abutment walls. These are reusable systems. They're very economical and efficient. They come right from the factory. You can purchase them or you can rent them, and they include all of the necessary hardware for joining the formwork together. Of course, there are situations where you custom make each form, but otherwise this reusable system or similar systems are the way to go. The threaded portions are usually this very coarse thread. You don't want a fine machine thread because it will quickly get covered with debris and will be unusable. The system is called MEVA, M-E-V-A. I'm sure you could go to their website and learn much more about this system and similar formwork systems. These are anchor slots. They are attached to the forms and will leave a groove in the finished concrete. The groove is used to anchor brick facing or a stone veneer to the concrete surface. And here you can see the formwork assembled using their hardware devices and various whalers to join them into large panels. This is a completed setup. It looks like it's ready for concrete. You can see all of the elements there are in place, including these inclined braces which are attached to the concrete footing. This is a very nice arrangement, a wide walkway for the workers. Very good looking setup. Here you can see some of the elements for the form ties. These are actually sleeves that go around the form tie. After the forms are stripped, you can actually slide out the form tie and reuse it. And these are the form ties themselves, together with the hardware that's attached to the end. Again, this is an effective system because you reuse these ties over and over again. But of course, you've now left this hole in the concrete which needs to be patched. This is my nice fine art video shot of a lather wiring the vertical rebar together for the wall. And right alongside of him you can see a series of panels that will form the wall. Now this is called a back face. It is the first formwork that goes up. You erect that, you brace that, you plumb that, you get it exactly where it belongs, and then that becomes a guide for the lather to install the rebar. So that's the process that's going on here. This is the opposite side of that form. The form goes up first, or the back form goes up first, and then the rebar. The rebar itself goes up in two stages. First the back face of the rebar, and now this lather is placing the bars in the front face of the rebar. And he's wiring them together. He has a little spool of tie wire, and he wires the rods together. Now we're looking at a view of a wall where all of the rebar is complete and you're ready to close up the forms, which means you're ready to install the front form. Here they've placed that sleeve which will contain the tie rod and allow the tie rod to be extracted after the formwork is removed. This appears to be a sleeve for a drain. You don't want the water to collect behind the abutment. That would increase the pressure on the abutment, and so periodically you would introduce these drains or weep holes to make sure that no water collects behind the wall. Here's another view of the back face of the form that goes up first, and the lad that was installing the rebar. This is the tie rod that goes through from the front face to the back face, and these pieces of hardware are simply joining the front face panels together to form a large unit. So you can distinguish them. You can see the where the rods are extended. That's the tie rod that goes through and through. And at the bottom of the form, that protruding tie rod is protected with a little plastic cap. You always want to make sure there are no projections from the formwork or no projections of any sort which could injure a worker. So they are covered with a plastic cap here. Now this is very important. This carpenter is actually in between the rebar and he's installing a bulkhead form. What we've been looking at is the back face form and the front face form, but at the end of the pour you have to close off that space with what we call a bulkhead, and that has to be a handmade form, custom made to fit in this space. It has to have holes drilled in it to allow the rebar to go through. It needs to have a groove cut in it if there's water stop. So that's a very time-consuming and expensive piece of formwork to both build and to remove. These devices are chairs or spaces to provide the correct cover over the rebar. If you want 2 inches of concrete cover, you need to install these 2-inch chairs to make sure you get that cover. In this view, the wall is being poured. Again, you see these yellow caps over the projecting rods as a safety measure. And you can see how effective the concrete pump is in delivering the concrete exactly where it's needed underneath the bridge. This would be a real challenge if it weren't for tools such as the concrete pump. Traditionally, before concrete pumps were in wide use, you would have to lift the concrete in a bucket and the crane would have to carry it up to the top of the wall. But in this low headroom condition, that would be just about impossible. Here's a concrete truck discharging into the pump. What's unusual here is that the pump is being protected by this sheet of plastic. I guess it's a brand new pump and they're trying to keep it looking new, but it seems to me that's pretty much a lost cause. That concludes the video portion for this class. Please conclude with the remaining lecture portion.